Hello aspirants, welcome to Mohan Reddy Academy. So we are going to start a new initiative. That initiative is related to anthropology optional. So there are so many aspirants who are struggling to understand what is this anthropology. So what are the classes we are taking either in YouTube or in our Class Plus app by the name Mohan Reddy Academy. So where these classes will be important for all those aspirants who are preparing for anthropology, who has taken anthropology as their optional in UPSC, for both beginners as well as the veterans. Okay, so now let us understand what is this anthropology is all about and why it is scoring, why one has to choose anthropology, and there are so many doubts what usually aspirants feel about. So in this class let us try to answer that, and apart from that we will also discuss about the syllabus in this particular session. Okay, so I broadly call this session as orientation session. In this orientation session, let us understand why anthropology is scoring, what are the topics which are present in paper 1 and paper 2. Mostly we will cover paper 1. Okay, so without much delay, let's start our session. So if you are carefully saying, so this is the scheme of our exam. So in exam, so the scheme of the exam is prelims, and then it is followed by mains, and finally we have the interview, that is the this is the scheme of the exam. So anthropology comes under mains. So if someone has clear prelims, okay, first Indian language, first they have to write this Indian language, and here it is qualifying, and then we see in the paper B it is English, once again it is qualifying. Paper 1 is essay. So if you are scoring good in essay, and then that is paper 5, that is general studies 4, we call it as general studies 4, that is ethics, integrity and aptitude, and then that is paper 6 and paper 7. Okay, paper 6 and paper 7. So if you are scoring good in these two, in all these 3 papers, then this is the pathway of you getting into the service. If you want to get into service, definitely you have to score good in essay, ethics, integrity and aptitude, as well as optional. So in these optionals, there are many optionals in UPSC anthropology. So based on your interest, you can choose any optional. But why majority of the students chose anthropology? Because it is scoring. So why it is scoring, eventually we will understand. Okay, so paper 1 may essay, and paper 2 talks about general studies 1. So general studies 1 में हम क्या पढ़ेंगे? Indian heritage, culture, history, geography of world and society. So here also related to GS1, so there are certain topics in anthropology which overlaps with GS1. So and then paper 3, that is general studies 2, here it talks about the governance, constitution, polity, social justice and international relationships. Of course anthropology, there are certain topics in anthropology which overlaps with paper 3 also, that is GS2, and paper 4 talks about general studies 3, that is science and technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security and disaster management. And paper 5, it talks about general study, ethics, integrity and aptitude. There are many topics in anthropology which you can use as the case studies while writing answers for ethics, integrity and aptitude. And paper 6 and paper 7, this is purely related to optional. Okay, so if your optional subject is anthropology, so it is a perfect gateway for you to get into the examination. And now let us understand why one has to choose anthropology. If I ask you why one has to choose anthropology, so obviously the question will be, ma'am, it is very scoring. Okay, apart from that, what else you can expect from anthropology? So we see a well structured syllabus. The syllabus is so well structured which you can complete in 4 to 5 months. And apart from that, the subject itself is so engaging. There are many topics in anthropology, that is in both paper 1 as well as paper 2. So what are those topics that deal about marriage, family, kinship and religion? Apart from that, there is also another component that is called as archaeological anthropology, so which is also interesting. Apart from that, we have physical anthropology, which is also interesting, and then we study about Indian anthropology. It's once again is very interesting. Okay, you will understand the diversity, so you will understand about the diversified cultures and societies which are prevailing all over the world. So the subject itself is so engaging, and then of course we can expect, so there are many aspirants who have scored more than 300 plus in their mains, so obviously it is a scoring topic. And it is more static. Yes, so recent times in the past 2 years you can expect some dynamic concepts. So even our anthropology optional is also not immune to dynamicism. Okay, so there are certain before last year we see they have experimented with paper 2. So last year they have experimented both with paper 1 as well as paper 2. Okay, there are certain topics which are very dynamic. So what are those topics? Tribal anthropology is very dynamic. The stats related to tribal anthropology, the policies related to tribal anthropology. Okay, so these are certain topics which are dynamic in nature. Apart from that, if there are some excavated sites which are out and which are present in the newspaper, so once again they are going to be important, and that comes under archaeological anthropology. And once again, so and this Nobel prizes. So Nobel prizes में किस चीज़ के बारे में, so in this physiology if someone is getting, and if it's related to this physical anthropology, once again you can expect some question. Last year ऐसा question पूछा गया है. So अहमदाबाद flight crash होने के बाद, okay, I have taken some shots in another institute. You can browse them even on YouTube as well as Insta also. Okay, by name Anthropology by Shailaja ma'am, where I have discussed in this Ahmedabad flight crash, constantly there is some article which is constantly occurring in the news. So what is this actually talking about? Okay, the DNA analysis to identify the dead bodies. Okay, where we have understood about the mitochondrial DNA, and that is exactly asked in the examination. And then there is some Killedy excavations, and which is constantly appearing in the news. Once again they have asked about this dating technique. So we can expect certain questions which can appear in the examination. It is not like that we can expect 100% questions. Okay, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होती है. So 100 की 100 questions हम expect नहीं कर सकते हैं, but we can guess some questions. ऐसा question पूछा जा सकता है इस topic के ऊपर करके. So it is more static and is less dynamic in nature. And then so there are some topics which constantly overlap with the GS topics. We will understand what are those topics, how it overlaps with the GS topics. And availability of good guidance. So that is a good thing about this Mohan IAS Academy. So in this academy, apart from me, so my name is Shailaja Arati. So apart from me, so there is another educator. His name is Mohan Banerjee Reddy. Okay, so there is also a Telegram group by name Team Anthro. Okay, you can even join that, you can browse that and you can join that. So recently we have co-authored a book, and the name of the book is Socio-Cultural Anthropology. It is even available in Amazon as well. Okay, if you are an aspirant who is studying in Ashok Nagar in a close proximity in Hyderabad, you can purchase this book, which is available in all the major bookstores in Hyderabad. Okay, availability of good source, and then the beneficial for the interview stage. Okay, so these are the good things about the anthropology. Now the question, is anthropology a scoring optional subject or not? So this is what you are eagerly waiting about. I know that. Okay, now let us decode whether it is scoring or not. Okay, so now let us understand what is the performance of anthropology. So if you are carefully understanding about the performance of anthropology, let us see success rate or the strike rate and the top ranks which people has achieved in due course of time. So from 2017, marking from 2017, in 2018 we see, in 2020, 2021, 2022 also. Okay, so directly All India Rank 1, Andip Durshetty, who has achieved All India Rank 1 in 2017, and then we see Akshat Jain, so he has scored All India Rank 2 in 2018. Okay, and if you are carefully observing these marks, every marks is about 300 plus only. Okay, just look at these marks, 362. Okay, which is an all-time highest score. Okay, and that is achieved by Lakshmi Nagappan. Her All India rank is 45. Okay, we see Nidhi Pai, her rank is 110. She has scored 325 in anthropology. Narayan Amit, his rank is All India rank 70. His marks are 306. Shubham Kumar, he also scored All India rank 1. Okay, so his score in anthropology in 320, that has happened in 2020. Okay, so and then we have discussed about others, and Sachin Gupta has scored All India rank 3. His score is 339. So this is the performance of anthropology, and you will be perplexed like what is their background. उनका background सोच के आप perplex हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि none of them has studied anthropology in their graduation or in post graduation. After completing their BTech or some other discipline, then they have chosen anthropology as their optional, and then look at these results. Okay, so how important is one's background in choosing an optional subject? Nothing. If you ask me, nothing. So if you are taking anthropology as an optional subject, उससे background का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. Okay, anyone from social sciences, if you are an aspirant who has completed your graduation in BTech, BE or something, then you are also a perfect recipe to choose anthropology as your optional. And then how is graduation different from optional preparation? Let us see. So Anudeep Durshetty, who has scored All India rank 1 in 2017, okay, he has completed his graduation. So what is his graduation? BTech in electronics and instrumentation from BITS Pilani. Okay, so whatever he has studied in all these years, okay, that is completely different from anthropology, but yet he has scored All India rank 1. And next we see All India rank 3 CSA 2022 mein, okay, Uma Harita. So she actually studied BTech in civil engineering from IIT Hyderabad. And next we see BA honors in geography, All India rank 3 इन्होंने achieve किया है CSA 2023. Her name is Ananya Reddy and she also has chosen anthropology as her optional. So this is the good thing about anthropology. There is no need anything got to do with your background. And now let us understand whether it is overlapping with the general studies syllabus or not. Okay, so if you are talking about GS1, so GS1 में प्री हिस्ट्री, इंडियन सोसाइटी एंड सोशल जस्टिस, ये सारे चीज़ हम एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में पढ़ेंगे. सो यू विल एक्चुअली स्टडी अबाउट ऑल दिस थिंग्स इन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी. ओके, इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट प्री हिस्ट्री, so all these things will be covered in archaeological anthropology. Of course we will study archaeological anthropology with respect to anthropology syllabus only, but it will give you good insights to answer this prehistoric questions. And then the Indian society, the entire components completely fits into anthropology, because Indian society may whatever the topics you take in Indian society. So for an example, marriage, family, kinship, religion, we will discuss about all these things in anthropology as well. So there is a very big component in the Indian society which is called as the tribal profile of the tribes who are residing in India. And of course in anthropology we study about the tribal anthropology. So we cover the whole of Indian society, social justice, इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. Okay, and if you are talking with respect to GS2, okay, few topics in polity and governance. So when we talk about the minorities, and if you are talking about the tribals, if you are talking about the linguistic minorities or the religious minorities, because constitution recognizes two types of minorities. They are religious minorities as well as linguistic minorities. And what are the articles which are related to them? What are the safeguards? What is the constitution talking about them? So we will discuss about all these things in our classes. And if you are talking about the GS3, okay, it talks about the internal security like ethnic movements, science and technology में biotech. Ethnic movements, हम बहुत सारे ethnic movements के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. फॉर एन एग्जाम्पल खालिस्तानी इशू हम कवर करेंगे, ग्रेटर नागालैंड के बारे में हम कवर करेंगे, द्रविड़ नाडु मूवमेंट विच हैज़ हैपेंड वंस अपॉन अ टाइम इन इंडिया, उसके बारे में भी हम पढ़ेंगे. जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में क्या हुआ है, वाई द आर्टिकल इज एब्रोगेटेड. सो वी विल स्टडी अबाउट ऑल दीज थिंग्स. ओके, दैट इज़ ऑल कवर्ड इन दिस एथनिक मूवमेंट्स. एंड देन GS4 में ओके, एथिकल डायलेमास. So ethical dilemmas, tribal rights, tribal development. So paper 2, starting from 6th chapter to 9th chapter, it completely talks about tribal anthropology, where we study about the tribal profile, we will study about the problems faced by the tribal people, land alienation, rehab techniques, okay, their health, इतने सारे चीज़ों के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. Okay, this is a very small component when you are talking with respect to anthropology. Now let us understand why Mohan Reddy Academy, that is our app, why it is so different. Okay, so here we will cover comprehensive coverage of the syllabus. Complete syllabus will be covered. It is not like that we neglect some topics. It is not like that we give more weightage to some topics. There are some educators who are very popular. I just don't want to take their names. They constantly dictate notes in their classes. So it is all about dictating the notes in the classes. Then what's the point of taking the classes? आराम से उनका notes लेके सब लोग print out ले सकते हैं. Okay, so it is not like that. Our classes are not like that. Okay, we will teach each and every point which is relevant to the examination. And then answer writing practice and model answers. आप कितना भी पढ़ो. So if your answers are not good, if you lack this answer writing, then forget about getting into service. So answer writing is extremely important, and these answers will be evaluated both by Mohan Reddy sir as well as me. And then the personalized mentorship and doubt resolution. Once again, this is taken by Mohan Reddy sir and me. And next, strategy to score 300 plus in anthropology. What are those strategies? Eventually you will understand while we take the classes. And the admissions are open. So for the more details, contact this number, and the number is 8522 I repeat, 8522 and 674. Now let us understand the syllabus for anthropology optional. अब हम पढ़ेंगे syllabus for anthropology optional. So आप whatever the optional you take in UPSC, so it consists of two papers, that is paper 1 and paper 2. Majority of the optionals, okay, paper 1 में global level पढ़ेंगे, so they deal about the global level, and paper 2 में we will actually study mostly about India. Okay, so just like that, even in anthropology also, paper 1 में हम पढ़ेंगे global level thinkers, global level archaeology, so इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम paper 1 में cover करेंगे. And if you're talking about the paper 2 mostly talks about India, so we call it as an Indian anthropology. So इस class में हम paper 1 में क्या क्या mention किए हुए हैं syllabus में, उस चीज़ के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. Okay, paper 1 starts with 1.1, 1.2 and 1.3. Any discipline, it starts about understanding the meaning, scope and development of that particular discipline. Just like that, anthropology is not immune to that. So paper 1 में 1.1 talks about the meaning, scope and development of anthropology, how it has actually established in due course of time, and who are the thinkers who has contributed, how it has established in the universities. इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम यहाँ हम पढ़ेंगे. And next 1.2, the relationships with the other disciplines. So whether anthropology has relationship with the other disciplines. So if so, what are those disciplines? So what is its relationship with the social sciences, behavioral sciences, life sciences, medical sciences, earth sciences and humanities. And 1.3 talks about the main branches of anthropology. There are 4 main branches of anthropology. See, there are 4 main branches of anthropology. Apart from that, we have some other subfields also. Okay. So what are the 4 main branches of anthropology? Socio-cultural anthropology. So socio-cultural anthropology is your first topic, and the second thing is physical anthropology or biological anthropology, that is second, and the third one is archaeological anthropology, third, and finally we see the linguistic anthropology, within which there are so many subtopics which we eventually cover. But actually, why are we studying about all these things? Kyunki anthropology in its scientific sense, it covers 3 aspects of humankind. What are those 3 aspects of humankind? Covers society, culture and biology of humankind. Because it is covering all these 3 aspects in all places at all times. In all places and at all times. Hence this science is called as a whole science. Because of this, it is called as a whole science, whereas the other sciences are called as the part sciences. So when you are saying that it is covering all these 3 aspects, in 3 aspects के बारे में हम definitely पढ़ना चाहिए. So these 3 aspects are covered in A and B. Then what about archaeological anthropology? So anthropology has apportioned its subject matter like these 3 aspects which we have already understood. So in order to understand the biological evolution of human beings and the culture which has prevailed during that period of time, that means we will study about the extinct human beings. उनके बारे में अगर हम पढ़ना चाहिए, then we have to rely on archaeological anthropology. That is the reason archaeological anthropology is extremely important in anthropology. And then why we actually study about the linguistic anthropology? क्योंकि language is so unique to human beings. So there are many species which are prevailing in world. There are many species which are inhabiting in world. So language is very unique to human beings. And if you are talking about the language, there is lot of diversity which is present even in the language. So which part of the brain is assisting this language? So इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में अगर हम पढ़ना चाहिए तो, so that is the reason linguistic anthropology is also important, and these 4 are called as the main branches of anthropology. And then moving on, 1.4 talks about the human evolution and emergence of man. See, we were not even like this. Okay, once upon a time we were quadrupedal. So what do you mean by quadrupedal? Pedal mane walking, quadri mane 4. Okay, walking on the 4 limbs. Once upon a time, okay, the ancestors of human being, they were quadrupedal. They were jumping from one tree to another. From quadrupedalism, just see the evolutionary path. Okay, from quadrupedalism eventually we have achieved this knuckle walking. So that is walking on the knuckles, just like how chimpanzees and gorillas walk on their knuckles. and then we have achieved the bipedalism. So whatever the journey which has started from quadrupedalism to bipedalism, it did not just happen over a night. So it's a product of millions and millions of years. In this millions of years, what all the species which has happened, how they became extinct, how they are different from the modern man, how they are different from the other species. So इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. But 1.4 में we will study about a lot of theories, okay, which assess this biological evolution. And then moving on, 1.4, 1.5 talks about the primates. Okay, so if you're talking about the taxonomy of human beings, in taxonomy में primates comes under order. Okay, so what is the order? That is primates. So who all actually comes under these primates? So monkeys, prosimians, chimpanzees, gorillas, gibbons, human beings, okay, all of us actually come under this primates. So उनका phylogenetic status क्या है? Why they are different from each other? What is that path which has actually made orangutans differentiated? How orangutans are differentiated from human beings? Okay, इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम कहाँ cover करेंगे? 1.5 में cover करेंगे. And 1.6 talks about the phylogenetic status, characteristics and geographical distribution of the extinct human beings. It talks about the extinct human beings. Who are those extinct human beings? So here I have mentioned only few. Australopithecus afarensis. Did you watch this movie, which is enacted by Scarlett Johansson, and the name of the movie is Lucy? In that Lucy movie, there is a last climax scene, okay, where she does one time travel. Finally, she ends up in a forest where she see a primate drinking some water, and then she tries to touch her index finger, and then, okay, so she just gets disappeared just like that. So who is that person where she tried to touch her index finger? That is nothing. She is none other than Australopithecus afarensis. Okay. So Australopithecus, Austro means south. Pithecus means ape-like, which means ape-like. Okay, afarensis, because the species is found in afar, so hence the name afarensis. Okay, Australopithecus afarensis. So even though they look like ape, but they have achieved bipedalism. They have achieved bipedalism. So इन सारे लोगों के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. Australopithecus afarensis, Australopithecus africanus, Paranthropus ethiopicus, Paranthropus bossai, Paranthropus robustus, Homo habilis, who is called as the handyman. Okay, Homo rudolfensis, Homo ergaster, Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo rhodesiensis, Homo neanderthalensis, Homo sapiens, all of them became extinct, and the modern man, that is we, that is Homo sapiens has emerged after 10,000 BC, and that is continuing even in the modern time, and it all started from Holocene epoch. Okay, so इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम 1.6 टॉपिक में कवर करेंगे. And then moving on, 1.7, it's so misnomer. 1.7 is so misnomer. It shouldn't have actually placed here. It should have placed prior to 9.1. So while taking up the class, हम इस order को definitely follow नहीं करेंगे. We will not actually follow this order, because anthropology में there are some components. What are those components? We see one component, that is socio-cultural anthropology, and then we see physical anthropology. There is another component, that is archaeological anthropology, and then we see Indian anthropology. Apart from that, we also have tribal anthropology. So tribal anthropology topics are intact. Okay, that is completely restricted to paper 2. That's okay. Socio-cultural anthropology में, so starting from second chapter till 6th chapter हम वैसा club करके पढ़ेंगे. Okay, so apart from that 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में वही club करेंगे. And then we see archaeological anthropology. There are certain topics which comes under the archaeological anthropology, physical anthropology, starting from 9th chapter to 12th chapter in paper 1. That all starts with that is topic, that is 1.7. So what is 1.7 talking about? It is talking about the cell, the biological basis unit of life. Yes, the cell. So whatever the part you take in the body, it consists of cells. So we have two types of organisms. One is unicellular and multicellular organisms. At least if that organism has one cell, then it is considered as an organism. Okay, so because that is so basic in nature, we will study about this cell. इस cell के बारे में We will not discuss about all the organelles which are present in the cell. उन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में we will just have a passing reference. We will study about those things which happens in the nucleus. The nucleus is considered as the brain of the cell. Okay, nucleus में जो भी होता है, nucleus में we have DNA, and DNA eventually it actually forms chromosomes. Okay, and then we will also study about the genes. We will study about the cell division. We will study about the DNA replication. We will study about the protein synthesis, which we call it as the transcription and translation. So this particular chapter talks about all these concepts. And then 1.8 it talks about the archaeological anthropology. So this is the thing which overlaps with GS1. 1.8 A talks about the lithic cultures. What are those lithic cultures? Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, as well as the Chalcolithic. So Paleolithic, so all these words are Greek originated. Paleolithic is Greek word, Meso is a Greek word, Neo is a Greek word, even Chalco itself is a Greek word. So but what you are seeing one thing as common, okay, here you are seeing lithic as common, यहाँ भी है, यही भी है, and यहाँ भी है. So then what do you mean by lithic? Lithic nothing but stone. Lithic माने stone. Then what do you mean by paleo? Paleo माने old. Paleo means old. And then what does meso means? Which means middle. And you already know what is lithic, which means stone, right? And then lithic means stone, neo means new, and chalco means copper. Okay, so because copper is the first metal which is discovered by the human beings. So we'll study about the cultures which has prevailed during this period of time, what type of tools they have prepared, what is their diet, इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में 1.8 principles of prehistoric archaeology and उसका chronology भी हम पढ़ेंगे. Okay, so by that we have completed that, and then the second chapter यहाँ से आपका socio cultural anthropology start होती है. 2.1 and 2.2 talks about the nature of culture and the nature of society. Why we have to understand about the nature of culture and nature of society? Because the scientific meaning of anthropology talks about the three aspects of humankind. What are those three aspects? That is the society, culture as well as the biology of humankind. So इसीलिए हमको culture and society के बारे में पढ़ना है. And moreover, culture and society are so dynamic in nature. Culture and society are never static, they are dynamic in nature. It can be regressive, it can be progressive. Okay, so we will understand about the traits which are present in the culture as well as society and why it is dynamic, and we will study lot and lot of case studies here. So यहाँ से हमारा socio cultural anthropology start होती है in a large. And 2.3 talks about marriage. So we all must have witnessed at least one type of marriage in our life. Okay, directly आप देखे हुए होंगे, or else you must have saw this marriage thing happening in movies or web series or in serials, whatever it is. Okay, we won't discuss about what is that thing, okay, how people get married. उन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम नहीं पढ़ेंगे. We will study about the diversity of this institution called as marriage in different societies, how it is different from other societies. यहाँ भी बहुत ज़्यादा case studies आएंगे. And then we will also study about the different types of marriages. Okay, what do you mean by different types of marriages? Which like a lot of sometimes students say like the rich marriage and the poor marriage. No, not like that. Okay, we will study about the monogamy, polygamous marriages. Gamy in the suffix always implies marriage. Okay, monogamy मैंने at a single period of time, at one moment of time where you are associated with only one partner. If your temperament is matching, you will stay. If your temperament is not matching, you will move away, you will divorce them. Or if by any chance if the spouse is dead, or and eventually if you found love, once again you will get married. But at any point of given, at any given point of time, that particular partner is associated only with one single partner. उस type of marriage को हम बोलेंगे monogamous marriage. And then we see polygamous. Poly माने many, gamy माने marriage, getting married to many people. Okay, and which is further classified into polygyny, polyandry, polygynandry, and then once again there are so many subdivisions which are present. So we will study about all these concepts in 2.3. And if you are talking about 2.4, that talks about another institution that is called as family. So if I ask you, what is actually important, marriage or family, which is first? Not important, okay, my bad, I have quoted the question in a wrong way. So which is first, marriage or family? So a lot of people answer, ma'am, it is marriage. Once they are married, eventually they will start family. But what about this biological evolution of human being is saying? Let us try to understand. So once upon a time, human beings were also animals. They were hunters and gatherers, constantly hunting and gathering the food. That is how they are trying to satisfy their hunger. So here we see both males and females. Okay, unlike the males, females cannot hunt throughout their life. Why she cannot hunt throughout their life? Because at one period of time, if she is pregnant, okay, during that period she needs some rest, or at least during this period when she is pregnant also, if she is hunting and she is gathering. But eventually after giving birth to the baby, unlike the other babies in the animal kingdom, the human babies are constantly dependent on the mother. The prolonged dependency of the baby on the mother, which makes us different from the animal kingdom. So during that period of time, at least for 5 to 6 years, she has to take care of the baby, she has to nurture the baby. When she is at home, then who will cook food for them? Okay, not so during that time cooking food concept is not present. Okay, so mother and baby, they are now associated, and the baby is constantly depending on the mother at least for 5 to 6 years. This is the first foundation of the family. This is how the family system has initially founded. Did you understand? Okay, what is first? Is it marriage or family? Then the answer should be definitely it should be the family. So during this period when she is nurturing the baby, if any male who has accompanied her and who has provided food for her, and in return she has gathered food for him, or they have mated, okay, this is how the family institutions, mother, baby, and then the male has also joined. This is how the foundation of the family has started. So इस topic में family में हम पढ़ेंगे न्यूक्लियर फैमिलीज़ के बारे में, जॉइंट फैमिलीज़ के बारे में, एक्सटेंडेड फैमिलीज़ के बारे में, एंड ऑल्सो डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ फैमिलीज़, द डाइवर्सिफाइड फैमिलीज़ विच आर प्रेजेंट थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड, उसके बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ केस स्टडीज़. Okay, and the anthropologist who has contributed a lot about this. So we'll study about all these things. Moving on, 2.5 talks about kinship. What do you mean by kin? Kin means relation. So we have so many relatives. We have primary relatives, we have secondary relatives, we have tertiary relatives. Primary relatives means your mother, father, your spouse, children, they all come under the primary relatives. And the secondary relatives who are related to you by means of the primary relatives, like the grandmother, grandfather, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, they all come under that category. And who are these tertiary relatives? Great grandfather, great grandmother, okay, so or the father of sister-in-law or the mother of sister-in-law. So उन लोगों को बोलेंगे tertiary relatives. And we will also understand about the kinship terminology and different types of case studies and the diversified society. इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में kinship topic में हम पढ़ेंगे. Okay, by this second chapter is completed. Third chapter talks about the economic organization. So we understood that anthropology deals about culture, society and biology of human beings. But how is the society and culture is prevailing? There should be some transactions which are happening. Okay, here we don't talk about economics. Economics and economic anthropology are not one and same. Economics talks about production, supply, distribution and profit making. Economic anthropology doesn't talk about all these things. It is more than that. Beyond all these things, there are also some transactions. Why these transactions happen? What could be the possible reason behind it? Once again, we will understand about the case studies and the anthropologists who has contributed related to this field. Okay, so chapter number 3 में इन सारे topics के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. And then chapter number 4 talks about the political organization and the social control. If the society is existing, then there should be some control. Primitive societies may, when the population is limited, there will be just a leader who will control the entire population. But take the case of India, or if you're talking about the nation state, so where the informal leadership will not prevail. So then comes the highest law of the land, which we call it as a constitution, and then different types of polities. Okay, so what type of state or stateless societies has existed, what is their marriage practices which has prevailed during their time, and what about their subsistence, इन सारे topics के बारे में political organization chapter में हम पढ़ेंगे. And then fifth chapter talks about the religion, which is also one such institution. So here we won't discuss about the major religions of the world like Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, बुद्धिज़्म, जैनिज़्म, सिखिज़्म, इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में नहीं पढ़ेंगे. इनके पहले भी कुछ और रिलीजन्स है लाइक एनिमिज़्म, एनिमेटिज़्म, नेचर वर्शिप, एंड देन टोटमिज़्म, फेटिशिज़्म. Okay, how these religions came, how is magic different from religion, and then we will study about some case studies. So these are all the topics which we cover in religion. Now let us understand about the sixth chapter, extremely important. There are some educators who are very famous, they only know about this sixth chapter. So throughout 3 months they only teach about sixth chapter, and then they collect handsome amount from you saying that we have completed entire anthropology syllabus in just 3 months, which is very incorrect. But yes, chapter number 6 is extremely important. Here we will understand about the thinkers, how they have contributed for this anthropology discipline, how it has developed in due course of time, and how they have extended the scope, and how this particular chapter number 6 talks about the evolution of what? Is it talking about evolution of biology? No, it is talking about the evolution of culture. This is talking about the evolution of society, how eventually how human beings has transcended their animal behavior, how this culture has started. Some theories talks about the origin of the culture and society. Some theories conveniently neglect about the origins of the culture. They only focus on how these traits are functioning in the society, how they are structured, whether the culture is influencing the personality or the personality is influencing the culture, and what about the cognitive theories, what is the postmodernism is talking about, and what is this historical particularism is all about, classical evolution school of thought, functionalism school of thought, structural functionalism school of thought. इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में chapter number 6 में हम पढ़ेंगे. Then moving on, chapter number 7 that talks about culture, language and communication. We have already understood that there is one main sub branch in anthropology which is called as linguistic anthropology. So in this topic we will understand what are the rules which are present in the language, which part of the brains assist this language, and what are the different types. In सारे what is this linguistic is all about. Okay, इन सारे topics के बारे में हम कहाँ पढ़ेंगे, we'll study in 7th chapter. And then moving on to the 8th chapter, the research methods in anthropology. Every discipline has its own research methodologies. Okay, like staying in Hyderabad, I can actually know about what is happening in some other place by googling it, by watching news, by watching YouTube, or by reading some books. वैसे भी मैं information collect कर सकती हूँ, or else I can call my friend who is actually staying there. Then I will ask like, how is your society, how are marriage practices are happening, what about this institution. इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम पता कर सकते हैं, but that is not the way how an anthropologist should work. Then how an anthropologist should work? Okay, there are various types of research methodologies which are present, and then there is one important thing that is called as fieldwork tradition. This fieldwork tradition is called as hallmark of anthropology. Fieldwork tradition को हम क्या करके बुलाएंगे? Fieldwork tradition is called as hallmark of anthropology. And then we have emic and etic perspective, we have cultural relativism, we have systems and processes, we have case study perspective. Okay, and then we have interviews. So we will discuss about all these things in chapter number 8. And यहाँ से start होती है your physical anthropology, where lot of students are worried about like physical anthropology में बहुत ज़्यादा biology होती होगी. Okay, it must be very difficult for us to understand, but that is not correct. Okay, हम कहाँ तक पढ़ेंगे? +10 11 तक ही पढ़ेंगे. Whatever you have studied till +10, we will study only that thing. Okay, इसमें आपको बहुत ज़्यादा research नहीं करना है. You should not actually do a hell lot of research because you are not writing any exam for medical entrance or something like that. You have to restrict yourself whatever which is taught by me in the class, that is more than enough for you to crack the exam. 9.1 talks about the human genetics. Okay, so we have already understood that 1.7 में already हम gene के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. Okay, apart from that, why human genetics is important, because gene is the basic unit of inheritance of traits in the humankind. Okay, not only in humankind, in the species. So how does this genes actually work? Okay, 9.1 actually talks about this. 9.2 talks about the Mendelian genetics, extremely important. Sir Gregor Mendel, who is actually a church pastor, has contributed a lot to this field. Mendelian genetics, inheritance patterns, how we inherited traits from our ancestors, not only from parents. Okay, so a lot of people think that we inherit traits only from the parents. No, okay, we also inherit traits from our ancestors. There will be certain traits which are expressing in this generation, and there will be certain traits which became completely numb. Okay, so what is the logic behind this? Till date we really don't know. He himself has experimented on the pea plants, taking the consideration, he has considered about the shape, he has considered about the color. Based on all these things, he has actually proposed this Mendelian genetics, is still accepted in the modern times. We'll study about the Mendelian genetics. And moving on, 9.3 talks about the genetic polymorphism. Okay, so what do you mean by genetic polymorphism? Morphism, which means change, poly means many, change. Okay, so so how we are actually different from each other, what is the reason behind that variation? So 9.3 talks about these things. And then moving on, 9.4 talks about chromosomes and the chromosomal aberrations. So what are those chromosomes? Chromosomes are nothing but the highly condensed form of DNA is called as chromosomes. So during this meiosis, so what will happen if they have properly added? So in this cell division, if it has properly divided, then probably we don't have any other issues. So then we don't inherit congenital diseases. But if there is some error which has happened during that period of time, then the chromosomal aberrations occurs and they are called as congenital diseases. Okay, so what are those congenital diseases and what we can do for that? Okay, इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में यहाँ बहुत ज़्यादा ट्राइसोमीज, मोनोसोमीज के बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे, एनुप्लॉइडी, यूप्लॉइडी के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. Okay, 9.4 talks about that. And then 9.5 talks about race and racism. Okay, so throughout the world where we see humans are inhabiting. So if you're talking about North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, कहीं भी जाओ आपको human beings दिखाई देंगे. 99% of our DNA is similar, but there is 1% variation which is present. So why this 1% variation? Because of the mate selection. Okay, so because of that there are different races which has actually occurred based on the ecology. So geography plays a very important role where they are actually staying. So we will study about the different races in different places. Okay, 9.5 talks about the race and racism topics. And 9.6 talks about the age, sex, population variation as the genetic markers. There are many genetic markers. For an example, I will cite you one single thing, that is ABO blood group. Some people will inherit A blood group, some people B, some people O, some people AB. Okay, my blood group is O negative. Okay, which I have inherited from my father. So we will study about the various genetic markers which are present in the population and the variation. And then let us understand about 9.7 talks about the concepts and methods of ecological anthropology. Ecology, hypothermia, hyperthermia. For an example, right now I am wearing this dress. Imagine my class is actually conducted in Greenland. Imagine that I am an educator. Right now I am present in Greenland. Do you think that I will definitely wear this dress? No. Then I will be wearing some woolen clothes because I have to keep myself insulated. Isn't it true or not? So then who is playing that important role? Ecology is playing an important role. The type of dresses what you are wearing, the type of food what you are eating, he is heavily influenced by the ecology. So ecological anthropology के बारे में हम इस टॉपिक में पढ़ेंगे. And then comes the 9.8. 9.8 talks about the epidemiological anthropology. So here we will understand about the disease causing agents in the human beings. Okay, so what are the pathogens which are responsible for that? Okay, यहाँ इस topic में हम cover करेंगे. And then 10th topic. Okay, so the 10th chapter is concept of human growth and development. It all starts with the fusion of the oocyte and the sperm. वहाँ से baby growth तक है. It all actually covers under concept of human growth and development. And then we see 11.1, 11.2 and 11.3. 11.1 talks about the relevance of menopause. So what do you mean by menarche? Which means the onset of puberty. Menopause means the cessation of the menstruation. So it all talks about that fertility patterns and differentials. 11.2 talks about the demographic theories, biological, social and culture. 11.3 discusses about the biological, social, ecological factors influencing fecundity, fertility, natality and the mortality. So this 11th chapter is all about this. And the last chapter in anthropology, paper 1, it is the applications of anthropology. What do you mean by applications of anthropology? For an example, right now I am wearing this dress. Why I am wearing this dress? Because it comes under, so have you ever went to a shopping mall, so where if you are actually going to select for you, okay, so there it will be written XS, S, M, L, XL, double XL, something like that. Why you chose one particular dress? Because that fits you. Okay, why they have actually mentioned in that way? Because they have taken sample survey of so many people. So based on their weight, based on their height, okay, so they think that yes, for these people, so those people between this weight to this weight, for them this dresses will be suitable. Okay, so that is an applications of anthropology. If you are sitting on a chair, so if the chair is actually properly, if you are seated properly and if it is convenient to you, which means that it is ergonomic enough, that is also an applications of anthropology. So it is used in the defense equipment, it is used in the medical equipment, it is used in the sports. Okay, so इन सारे चीज़ों के बारे में हम 12th chapter में पढ़ेंगे, the various applications of anthropology. So I hope that you have completely understood about the paper 1 and the topics which are present in paper 1, and we have successfully answered some of your queries, I guess. So in tomorrow's session we will understand about the syllabus breakdown related to paper 2. Okay, I hope that you have definitely enjoyed this session. We will meet in the end session. Till then, take care and bye bye.